The kitchen light was still on when Dai Ryun walked past the staff quarters at 3 in the morning. He stopped because nobody should be awake at this hour. Not in his house. Not when everyone knew he valued silence after midnight. He pushed the door open without knocking. The woman at the table looked up from a notebook, pen frozen mid-sentence. She had dark skin that caught the warm light, and tired eyes that told him she had been crying. Not the loud kind of crying, but the quiet type that people did when they thought nobody was watching. "You're the new caregiver," he said flatly. "Yes." She closed the notebook quickly. "I'm Pristina. I didn't mean to disturb anyone. My mother hired you last week." "She did." Pristina stood up, smoothing down her uniform. "I was just writing a letter home, to my sister. I couldn't sleep." Dai Ryun should have left. He had meetings in 4 hours and enemies who never slept. But something about the way she held herself, proud even when caught off guard, made him stay. "You're homesick." "Very," she admitted. And that honesty surprised him more than anything else that night. He pulled out a chair and sat down. His guards would have heart attacks if they knew their boss was having a conversation with the help at this hour. But Dai Ryun had stopped caring about proper protocol years ago. "Where are you from?" "Johannesburg, South Africa." Pristina sat back down slowly, like she was waiting for him to change his mind about talking to her. "I came here to send money home. My sister is sick and the medical bills are expensive." Most people lied to him. They told him what they thought he wanted to hear. But this woman just spoke the truth like it was the simplest thing in the world. "How is my mother treating you?" "She's kind." Pristina smiled for the first time, and it changed her whole face. "She tells me stories about when you were young. Says you used to hide books under your bed and read them with a flashlight." Dai Ryun almost laughed. "Almost. She talks too much. I think she's lonely." That statement landed heavier than it should have. His mother was lonely. He knew it, but hearing someone else say it out loud made it real in a way he had been avoiding. "Take care of her," he said, standing up to leave. "That's all I ask. I will." Pristina looked at him directly. No fear in her eyes. "I promise." He believed her. Over the next 3 months, Dai Ryun found himself looking for excuses to check on his mother. Not because he doubted Pristina's care, but because he wanted to see the caregiver who hummed old songs while folding laundry and laughed at his mother's terrible jokes. His mother noticed, naturally. She was old, but not blind. "You visit more often now," she said one afternoon while Pristina was making tea in the kitchen. "I'm busy. I visit when I can." His mother gave him that look, the one that said she knew exactly what he was doing. "She's a good person, Dai Ryun, different from the people you usually surround yourself with." "I don't surround myself with anyone." "Exactly my point." When Pristina came back with the tea, she found them sitting in comfortable silence. She poured carefully, her movements efficient but gentle. "Your mother was telling me about the garden she wants to start," Pristina said, handing Dai Ryun his cup. "In the spring. We have gardeners for that." "But I want to do it myself," his mother protested. "With Pristina's help, growing things is good for the soul." Dai Ryun watched Pristina nod enthusiastically, already planning where to put tomatoes and herbs. She had this way of making everything seem possible, even ridiculous things like his mother gardening when she could barely walk some days. "Fine," he said, and his mother's face lit up like he had given her the world. Later, as he was leaving, Pristina walked him to the door. It was part of her job, probably, but he liked to think maybe she just wanted to. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for letting her have the garden. It means a lot to her. You're easy to please. I'm just grateful." She looked up at him with those honest eyes again. "Not everyone would hire someone like me to care for their mother. Someone like you. Foreign, different. You know what I mean." He did know, and it made him angry that she had to think that way. "My mother likes you, that's all that matters. And you?" The question slipped out before she could stop it, and he watched her cheeks darken with embarrassment. "Sorry, that was inappropriate. I think you're good at your job," Dai Ryun said carefully, which was not exactly what he wanted to say, but was safer for both of them. He left before he could say anything else. His second in command, Tai Hyun, noticed the change first. They had been friends since childhood, before the money and power and violence that came with running an organization like Dai Ryan's. "You're distracted," Tae-hyun said during a meeting with suppliers. "You've checked your phone 6 times in the last hour. My mother might need something. Your mother has a caregiver, a very pretty caregiver, from what I hear." Dae-ryun shot him a warning look that would have made anyone else back off immediately, but Tae-hyun just grinned like they were still teenagers getting into trouble. "I'm just saying, it's nice to see you care about something other than profit margins and territory disputes. Focus on the meeting." But Tae-hyun was right. Dae-ryun was distracted, and it was becoming a problem. He couldn't afford to be weak, not in his position, not when rivals were always looking for opportunities to strike. Still, when his mother called that evening saying she had fallen and needed help, Dae-ryun broke every traffic law getting home. He found Pristina sitting on the floor with his mother, both of them laughing about something despite the situation. "She's fine," Pristina said immediately, seeing the panic on his face. "Just a little dizzy spell. But she insisted I call you." "I wanted to see my son," his mother said, completely shameless. "Is that a crime?" Dae-ryun helped her up, relief flooding through him so strongly it almost hurt. "Don't scare me like that." "You care too much," his mother teased, but her eyes were soft with affection. "I'll make dinner," Pristina offered. "You both must be hungry." They ended up eating together at the small table in his mother's room, something Dae-ryun never did because he was always too busy. But tonight he made time, listening to his mother and Pristina talk about everything and nothing. Pristina told stories about growing up in Johannesburg, about her sister who wanted to be a doctor, about the neighborhood kids who used to play soccer in the streets. She made her life sound simple and beautiful in a way Dae-ryun's had never been. "What about you?" Pristina asked him, brave enough to turn the conversation around. "Did you always want to run a business?" "No." He could have lied, made up some story about ambition and dreams, but something about her made him want to be honest too. "I wanted to be a teacher once. History." His mother looked shocked. "You never told me that." "It was a long time ago, before father died and someone had to take over." The room got quiet after that, the kind of quiet that felt heavy with understanding. Pristina reached across the table and squeezed his mother's hand, a simple gesture that somehow made everything feel less sad. "It's never too late," Pristina said softly, "to want different things. In my world, it is." She didn't argue with him, which he appreciated. She just smiled that gentle smile and started clearing the plates, humming one of her songs again. Dae-ryun helped his mother to bed, and then found Pristina washing dishes in the kitchen. He picked up a towel and started drying without asking. "You don't have to do that," she said, surprised. "I know." They worked in comfortable silence for a while, falling into an easy rhythm that felt natural despite how strange the situation was. A mafia boss doing dishes with his mother's caregiver at midnight. His enemies would laugh themselves sick. "Can I ask you something?" Pristina said, scrubbing a pot with more force than necessary. "Yes." "Why do you do it? The business, I mean, if it's not what you wanted." Nobody had ever asked him that before. They asked for favors, for money, for protection, but never why. "Because someone has to," he said finally. "And because I'm good at it, even if I hate it sometimes." "That sounds lonely." "It is." The admission surprised him as much as it probably surprised her. "Very lonely." Pristina stopped washing and looked at him with something that might have been understanding or maybe pity. He wasn't sure which one bothered him more. "For what it's worth," she said carefully, "I think you're a good son. Your mother talks about you all the time. She's proud of you, whatever it is you do. She doesn't know half of what I do. Maybe that's for the best. Maybe we all need parts of ourselves that stay private." He had never thought about it that way before. 3 weeks later, everything changed. Dae-ryun came home to find his mother's room empty, and Pristina crying in the hallway. Not the quiet crying from that first night, but the kind that shook her whole body. "What happened?" He grabbed her shoulders maybe too roughly. "Where is she?" "Hospital." Pristina could barely get the words out. She collapsed. "They took her 20 minutes ago. I should have noticed sooner. I should have seen the signs." Dae-ryun was already moving, pulling out his phone and barking orders. But he paused long enough to say, "This isn't your fault. Come with me." They spent the next 6 hours in a private waiting room while doctors worked on his mother. Pristina sat with her hands clasped together, probably praying if he had to guess. He sat next to her because sitting alone felt impossible right now. "She was fine this morning," Pristina whispered. "We had breakfast together. She was laughing about something she saw on television." "Stop blaming yourself." "How can I not? Taking care of her is my job, my one job." Dae-ryun turned to face her fully. "Look at me." He waited until she met his eyes. "You are the best thing that has happened to my mother in years. Whatever this is, it's not because you failed. Do you understand?" She nodded, tears still streaming down her face. Without thinking, he reached over and wiped one away with his thumb. The gesture felt too intimate, too revealing, but he couldn't bring himself to regret it. "Mr. Kang?" A doctor appeared in the doorway. "Your mother is stable. It was a minor stroke, but we caught it in time. She's asking for you." Relief hit him so hard he had to take a moment to breathe. Pristina stood up quickly, smoothing down her clothes like she always did when she was nervous. "Both of you?" the doctor added, looking at Pristina. "She specifically asked for her caregiver too." His mother looked small in the hospital bed, hooked up to machines that beeped steadily. But her eyes were alert, and she smiled when she saw them. "I'm fine," she said before either of them could ask. "Stop looking at me like I'm dying." "You scared us," Dae-ryun said, pulling a chair close to the bed. "I scared myself." His mother reached out and took Pristina's hand. "But I knew you would both come. My two favorite people." Pristina started crying again, and his mother clucked her tongue in that way mothers did. "No tears. I'm too old to feel guilty about making people cry." "I thought I lost you," Pristina admitted. "You can't get rid of me that easily. Besides, we still have to plant that garden in spring." Dae-ryun stayed at the hospital for 3 days, refusing to leave despite having urgent business matters piling up. Tae-hyun handled most of it, coming by occasionally to drop off papers that needed signing. "You should go home," he said on the second day. "Get some real sleep." "I'm fine here." Tae-hyun glanced at Pristina, who had fallen asleep in the chair by the window. "She hasn't left either. Very dedicated. She cares about my mother." "Is that all she cares about?" Dae-ryun gave him a sharp look, but Tae-hyun just shrugged like he was stating facts instead of making trouble. When his mother was finally cleared to go home, Dae-ryun hired private nurses to help with the recovery. But Pristina refused to step back, insisting she could handle it along with the professional help. "This is what you pay me for," she said stubbornly when he suggested she take some time off. "I'm trying to make things easier for you. And I'm telling you I don't need easier. I need to be here." They stared at each other for a long moment, neither willing to back down. His mother watched from her bed with poorly hidden amusement. "Let her stay, Dae-ryun," she said. "She's as stubborn as you are." So Pristina stayed, working alongside the nurses and somehow making the house feel less like a hospital and more like a home. She played music softly in his mother's room, read books out loud when his mother got bored, and forced everyone to eat proper meals instead of hospital food. Dae-ryun found himself spending more time at home than at the office, telling himself it was to monitor his mother's recovery. But really, he just wanted to be near Pristina. He helped her carry laundry one afternoon, following her to the washroom like some kind of lost puppy. "You have people who can do this," Pristina pointed out, amused. "I'm aware. So why are you here?" "Maybe I like doing laundry." She laughed at that, the sound bright and unexpected. "You're a terrible liar." "I've been told I'm an excellent liar, actually." "Not to me." She started sorting clothes, her movements quick and practiced. "You get this look on your face when you're not being honest. Your left eye twitches just a little." Nobody had ever noticed that before, or, if they had, they were smart enough not to mention it. "You pay too much attention," he said, but there was no heat in it. "That's my job. Paying attention. Is that what you're doing right now? Your job?" Pristina stopped sorting and looked at him directly. "I don't know. Is this you doing your job? Following the help around while she does laundry?" The help. The word stung more than it should have. "You're not just the help," he said quietly. Then what am I? It was a fair question, one he didn't have a good answer for. What were they doing exactly? Dancing around something neither of them could name, too afraid or too smart to take the next step. You're important, he settled on finally. To my mother, to me. Christina's expression softened. You're important to me too. Both of you. This place feels like home now. The moment stretched between them, full of things they weren't saying. Dae-ryun wanted to close the distance, to touch her face the way he had at the hospital, to tell her that she had become the best part of his days. But his phone rang, shattering the quiet. It was Tae-hyun. We have a problem, his second-in-command said without preamble. The Young family is making moves. They think you're weak because you've been absent. I'll be there in an hour. Make it 30 minutes. This is serious. Dae-ryun hung up and looked at Christina apologetically. I have to go. I know. She had already gone back to sorting laundry, but he could see the disappointment in her shoulders. Be careful. Always. The meeting with the Young family was tense, full of veiled threats and power plays. They had been rivals for years, always looking for opportunities to expand their territory into his. We heard your mother has been ill, Young Dae-jung said with false sympathy. Very sad. Family should always come first. My mother is recovering nicely. Thank you for your concern. Of course, though it must be difficult, running an organization while playing nursemaid. Dae-ryun smiled, the kind that never reached his eyes. I manage just fine. Perhaps you should worry less about my family and more about your own declining profits. The insult landed perfectly. Young Dae-jung's face reddened, but he was smart enough not to push further. Not here, not now. But as Dae-ryun left the meeting, Tae-hyun pulled him aside. They're planning something, he said quietly. I can feel it. Let them plan. We'll be ready. Will we? You've been distracted. The men have noticed. They're starting to question whether you're still committed. Are you questioning me? Tae-hyun hesitated, which was answer enough. I'm questioning whether that caregiver is worth the risk. Because that's what she is, Dae-ryun. A risk. A weakness that people like the Youngs will exploit. She has nothing to do with the business. Doesn't matter. They'll use her anyway if they think it will hurt you. Dae-ryun knew Tae-hyun was right, but accepting it meant making a choice he wasn't ready to make. Give up Christina for safety, or keep her close and put her in danger. He chose neither and both, deciding instead to increase security around his house without telling anyone why. But secrets never stayed buried for long in his world. 2 months after his mother came home from the hospital, Dae-ryun found Christina in the garden she and his mother had planted together. The spring weather had been kind, and green shoots were already pushing through the soil. Your mother will be happy, Christina said, not looking up from her weeding. The tomatoes are coming in early. She'll say it's because you talk to them. Maybe I do. Plants like encouragement. Dae-ryun sat down on the bench nearby, watching her work. She had dirt on her cheek, and her hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and she had never looked more beautiful. Can I ask you something personal? He said. That depends on the question. Do you miss home? Christina sat back on her heels, considering. Every day, but I miss the idea of it more than the reality, if that makes sense. I miss my sister. I miss the way the air smells before rain. But I don't miss struggling to pay bills or watching my sister get sicker. You send most of your salary home. How did you know that? I pay attention too. She smiled at that, brushing dirt from her hands. Yes, I send it home. My sister is getting better because of the treatment we can afford now. That's worth missing home for. What if I doubled your salary? Christina's eyes widened. Mr. Kang, that's too much. Dae-ryun, he corrected. And it's not too much. You've been taking care of my mother for almost 6 months now. You've done more than I ever expected. I do it because I care about her, not because of money. I know, but let me do this anyway. They looked at each other across the garden, and something shifted between them. Something that had been building for months, growing like the plants around them. Why are you really out here? Christina asked softly. Because you're here. The honesty of it hung in the air between them. No more pretending, no more excuses about checking on his mother or helping with chores. Dae-ryun, she started, but he held up a hand. You don't have to say anything. I know this is complicated. I know I'm your employer, and that there are 1,000 reasons why this is a bad idea. But I needed you to know that when I come home now, it's not just to see my mother. It's to see you." Pristina stood up slowly, wiping her hands on her apron. "You scare me." "I scare everyone." "No, not like that. You scare me because when I'm with you, I forget all the reasons I should keep my distance. I forget that we're from different worlds and that this could never work. I just forget everything except how I feel." "And how do you feel?" She moved closer, stopping just in front of him. "Like maybe I'm falling in love with you, which is probably the stupidest thing I could do." Dairayun reached up and tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, letting his hand linger on her cheek. "Then we're both stupid, because I've already fallen." They stood there in the garden surrounded by new growth and possibility, and Dairayun thought that maybe Pristina was right about plants needing encouragement. Maybe people needed it too. His mother found them an hour later, still talking quietly on the bench. She didn't say anything, just smiled that knowing smile, and went back inside. That night, Tae-hyun came to the house with news that couldn't wait. "The Young family knows," he said bluntly. "About Pristina, about you spending time with her." Dae-ryun's blood went cold. "How? Does it matter? They know, and they're planning to use it. I heard rumors they might try to take her, hurt her to get to you. I'll kill anyone who touches her. That's exactly what they want. They want you emotional, making mistakes. They want you weak." Dae-ryun stood up from his desk and walked to the window, overlooking the garden where he and Pristina had talked earlier. "Increase security. Triple it. I want someone watching her at all times. Or you could send her away, back to South Africa where she'll be safe. No. Dae-ryun, be reasonable. This is her life we're talking about. Which is exactly why I won't send her away. She came here to help her sister, to earn money for medicine. If I send her back now, her sister could die. I won't be responsible for that." Tae-hyun was quiet for a long moment. "You really love her?" "Yes." "Then protect her by letting her go. I'll protect her by destroying anyone who tries to hurt her." It was the wrong answer, and they both knew it. Love wasn't supposed to be about possession or control. But in Dae-ryun's world, protection looked like power and violence. Over the next week, Pristina noticed the increased security but didn't comment on it directly. She was too smart not to see what was happening, too observant not to understand that. Something had changed. "Are you in trouble?" she asked one evening while helping his mother with dinner. "Nothing I can't handle." "That's not an answer. It's the only one I can give you right now." Pristina set down the knife she was using to chop vegetables. "If being close to me puts you in danger, maybe we should stop. Whatever this is between us, maybe it's not worth the risk." "Don't say that." "Why not? It's practical. It's smart." "I don't want to be practical or smart. Not about this." His mother, who had been pretending not to listen, finally spoke up. "You two are dancing around each other like fools. Either be together or don't, but stop this halfway nonsense. It's exhausting to watch." "Mother," Dae-ryun started, but she waved him off. "I'm old and I nearly died. I can say what I want." "Pristina, do you care about my son?" "Yes," Pristina admitted quietly. "Dae-ryun, do you care about her?" "More than I should." "Then figure it out. Life is too short for maybe and probably and all that other nonsense." She was right, of course. She usually was. That night, Dae-ryun asked Pristina to take a walk with him around the grounds. Guards followed at a discreet distance, watching for threats. "I need to tell you something," he said as they walked past the garden. "About my business, about who I really am." "I already know," Pristina said simply. "You know? I'm not blind. The guards, the meetings at odd hours, the way people look at you with fear and respect. I figured it out months ago. And you stayed anyway. I stayed because your mother needed me, and because despite everything, I saw who you really were when you thought nobody was watching. I saw the man who reads history books and wanted to be a teacher, the man who does dishes and helps with laundry. That's the person I fell in love with." Dae-ryun stopped walking and turned to face her. "The Young family knows about you. They might try to use you against me." "Then we'll be careful." "Pristina, you don't understand. These people are dangerous. They won't hesitate to hurt you. And you won't let them." She said it with such confidence, such faith in him. Right? I'll die before I let anyone touch you. Well, let's try to avoid the dying part. Your mother would be very upset. Despite everything, he almost laughed. Leave it to Pristina to make jokes when discussing death threats. I'm serious about this, he said. About us. But I need you to understand what that means. Being with me comes with risks. Being alive comes with risks. At least this way I'll be with someone I love. There it was again. Love. The word they had been dancing around for months. I love you too, Dai-Ryun said, because she deserved to hear it clearly. I've never said that to anyone before. Good. I'd hate to be competing with old girlfriends. This time he did laugh, and it felt good. Normal. Like maybe they could have something real despite the chaos surrounding them. But that night, while Dai-Ryun was at a meeting he couldn't avoid, everything went wrong. The call came at midnight. Tai-Hyun's voice was tight with panic. They took her. The Young family took Pristina. Dai-Ryun felt the world tilt sideways. When? An hour ago. They grabbed her when she went to the market to buy medicine for your mother. I'm sorry, I had guards on her, but they were outnumbered. Where are they holding her? We're working on finding out. But Dai-Ryun, they sent a message. They want you to give up your territory in the east, or they'll hurt her. Dai-Ryun was already moving, grabbing his jacket and gun. Gather everyone. I want every man we have ready to move in 20 minutes. We need a plan. The plan is to get her back. Everything else is secondary. He had never felt rage like this before, cold and focused and absolutely murderous. The Young family had made a fatal mistake thinking they could use Pristina as leverage. His mother was awake when he stopped by her room to tell her what happened. She took the news better than he expected, her face calm despite the fear in her eyes. Bring her home, she said simply, and be careful. Pristina would never forgive me if something happened to you trying to rescue her. I'll bring us both home. It took 4 hours to locate where they were holding Pristina, an old warehouse on the outskirts of the city, heavily guarded but not impossible to breach. Dai-Ryun studied the building plans with his men, working out the best approach. We go in quiet, he instructed. No shots unless absolutely necessary. I want Pristina out of there safely before we deal with the Youngs. Taehyun pulled him aside before they left. There's something you should know. Lee Jin-ho is with the Young family. Lee Jin-ho, his friend since childhood, one of his most trusted advisors. The man who had been at his side for 15 years. You're certain? I saw him myself. He's been feeding them information for months. About your movements, your weaknesses. About Pristina. The betrayal cut deeper than any physical wound could have. Jin-ho had been like a brother, someone Dai-Ryun trusted with his life. And he had sold that trust for what? Money? Power? We'll deal with him later, Dai-Ryun said, pushing down the hurt to focus on what mattered. Right now, we get Pristina. The rescue itself took 12 minutes. They cut the power, breached through a side entrance, and eliminated the guards before anyone could raise an alarm. Dai-Ryun found Pristina in a small room on the second floor, tied to a chair, but otherwise unharmed. Her eyes widened when she saw him. You came. Did you think I wouldn't? He cut through the ropes quickly, checking her for injuries. Are you hurt? No, they didn't hurt me. They just wanted to scare you. They succeeded. Dai-Ryun helped her stand, supporting her weight when her legs wobbled. Can you walk? Yes. But Dai-Ryun, one of your men is working with them. Lee something. He was here, earlier, talking about how they could use this to destroy you. I know. Tai-Hyun told me. He guided her toward the door where his men were waiting. Let's get you out of here first. They made it to the cars without incident, Pristina shaking with adrenaline and relief. Dai-Ryun held her in the back seat while Tai-Hyun drove, not caring that his men could see how he felt about her. I was so scared, Pristina whispered against his chest. Not for me, but for you. I thought you might do something stupid trying to save me. This was actually fairly smart as far as rescue missions go. Don't joke, I'm serious. So am I. He pulled back enough to look at her face. I would burn down this entire city to keep you safe. There's nothing stupid about that. Back at the house, his mother cried with relief when she saw Pristina. They held each other while Dai-Ryun gave orders for increased security. and started planning his response to the Young family. But first, he had to deal with Jin-ho. They brought the traitor to one of Dai Ryun's warehouses the next morning. Jin-ho didn't beg or make excuses, which Dai Ryun almost respected. "Why?" Dai Ryun asked simply. "Because you were distracted, weak, spending all your time playing house with some African girl instead of focusing on the business. So you decided to sell me out to our enemies. I decided to back the winning side. The Young family is rising and you're falling. It was only a matter of time." Dai Ryun studied his former friend, looking for any trace of the boy he used to know. But that person was gone, replaced by someone willing to betray 15 years of loyalty for ambition. "You put Pristina in danger," Dai Ryun said quietly. "You helped them take her. She was always going to be collateral damage. You should have kept business and pleasure separate." Wrong answer. Dai Ryun moved faster than Jin-ho could react, landing a punch that sent him sprawling. But he didn't continue the beating, didn't give in to the rage demanding blood. "Get him out of my sight," Dai Ryun told his men. "Make sure he understands what happens to traitors." He left before he could do something he might regret, walking out into the cold morning air to clear his head. Tae-hyun found him an hour later, sitting in his car outside the warehouse. "Jin-ho is gone. He won't be a problem anymore." "Good." Dai Ryun didn't ask what they had done. He didn't want to know. "What about the Young family?" "They're backing off. Losing Pristina and having their informant exposed weakened their position. They're claiming it was a rogue operation, not sanctioned by Daijung himself." "Do you believe that?" "No, but it gives us an out if we want to take it. End this before it becomes a war." Dai Ryun thought about Pristina, about his mother, about the life he wanted versus the life he had. War would mean more violence, more risk, more chances for the people he loved to get hurt. "Accept their apology," he said finally. "But make it clear that if they come near Pristina or my family again, there won't be negotiations." It was the smart play, the practical choice, but it felt like surrender anyway. When he got home, he found Pristina in the garden despite the cold weather. She had a blanket wrapped around her shoulders and was just sitting there, staring at the dormant plants. "You should be inside," he said, sitting down next to her. "I needed air. The house felt too small. Are you okay?" "No, but I will be." She leaned against his shoulder, and he wrapped an arm around her. "They told me things while I was there. About you, about what you do. Some of it I already knew. Some of it I didn't want to believe. I'm not a good man, Pristina. I've done things I'm not proud of. I know. But you're good to me. Good to your mother. That has to count for something." "Does it? Even after what happened? You were taken because of me. You could have been killed." "But I wasn't. You saved me." Dai Ryun pulled away to look at her properly. "What if next time I can't? What if next time I'm too late, or the people are smarter, or I make a mistake? I can't lose you." "Then don't." Pristina took his hand, squeezing gently. "Don't lose me by pushing me away because you're scared. That's the only way you'll really lose me. You make it sound simple. Maybe it is. Maybe we're making it complicated because we're afraid of how much we care." She was right. Again. How did she always know the right thing to say? "I want to try," Dai Ryun said carefully. "Really try. Not just stolen moments and secret meetings. I want people to know you're mine and I'm yours. Even if that makes things harder. Especially then. I'm tired of hiding what you mean to me." Pristina smiled, and it was like the sun coming out after weeks of rain. "Okay then, let's try." They sat together in the garden until the cold drove them inside, planning a future that seemed impossible but felt necessary anyway. Spring came properly after that, bringing warmth and new growth to the garden Pristina and his mother had planted. The tomatoes actually produced fruit, small and perfect. His mother cried with joy when she picked the first one. "I grew this," she said, holding it up like treasure. "At my age, I grew something." Pristina laughed and helped her pick more, and Dai Ryun watched from the window, feeling something that might have been peace. Things changed after the kidnapping. The Young family kept their distance, and other rivals learned that touching Pristina meant signing their own death warrant. Dai Ryun made it clear she was under his protection, and nobody was stupid enough to test that boundary. His mother's health improved with the better weather. She grew stronger every day, walking in the garden with Pristina and planning what to plant next year. She started talking about the future again instead of dwelling on the past. "You should marry her," she told Dae-ryun one afternoon, completely out of nowhere. "Mother, we've only been officially together for 3 months. So? When you know, you know. Don't waste time being cautious. I didn't raise you to be a coward. I'm many things, but a coward isn't one of them." "Then prove it. Ask her." Dae-ryun thought about it more than he wanted to admit. Marriage seemed like such a normal thing, something people in normal lives did. But maybe that was the point. Maybe Pristina made him want a normal life. He asked her on a Tuesday evening while they were washing dishes together. It had become their routine, this quiet time after his mother went to bed where they could just be themselves. "What do you think about staying here permanently?" he asked, scrubbing a particularly stubborn pot. "I am staying permanently. Your mother needs me. I mean, officially, legally, as my wife." Pristina dropped the plate she was drying. It clattered into the sink, but didn't break. She stared at him like he had grown a second head. "Did you just propose while doing dishes? Is that a problem? Most people use candles and flowers and get down on one knee. I'm not most people, and you're not someone who needs grand gestures. You need honesty." Pristina picked up the plate and dried it carefully before setting it aside. "You're right. I don't need grand gestures, but I do need to know why. Why now? Why me? Because you make me want to be better. Because you see who I really am underneath all the violence and power. Because my mother loves you almost as much as I do. Because I can't imagine my life without you in it. Those are good reasons. Is that a yes? It's a probably, which is better than a no. Let me think about it." He could live with probably. She said yes 3 days later while they were planting seeds for summer vegetables. No fanfare, no big announcement. Just a simple yes that changed everything. His mother cried again. Happy tears this time. She immediately started planning a wedding, even though Dae-ryun and Pristina wanted something small and private. "Absolutely not," his mother declared. "You're my only son. We're having a proper wedding with guests and flowers and cake. Mother, half my guests would be criminals, and the other half will be Pristina's family from South Africa. It will balance out nicely." Pristina's sister came for the wedding, healthy now thanks to the treatments that Pristina's salary had provided. They looked so much alike it was startling, but her sister was more outgoing, more bold. "So you're the man who stole my sister's heart," she said when Dae-ryun met her. "I should warn you, if you hurt her, I'll find a way to hurt you back. I would expect nothing less." "Good. We understand each other then." She grinned suddenly, all threat disappearing. "She talks about you all the time in her letters. I was starting to think you were too good to be true. I'm definitely not that. Maybe not, but you make her happy. That's good enough for me." The wedding was small despite his mother's protests, held in the garden with only close family and a few trusted friends. Tae-hyun stood as best man, looking uncomfortable in his formal suit. When Pristina walked toward him wearing a simple white dress, Dae-ryun forgot how to breathe. She looked beautiful, but more than that, she looked happy. She looked home. They wrote their own vows because traditional ones felt wrong for people like them. "I promise to protect you," Dae-ryun said, holding her hands. "Not because you need protecting, but because I need you safe. I promise to be honest even when it's hard. I promise to do dishes and help with laundry and all the normal things that make life worth living. And I promise to love you for exactly who you are, where you come from, and who you want to become." Pristina's vows were simpler but hit just as hard. "I promise to see you, not the dangerous man or the powerful boss, but you, the person who wanted to teach history and reads books with flashlights. I promise to stand beside you even when things get scary. And I promise to keep planting gardens with your mother because she's become family too." His mother sobbed through the entire ceremony. They spent their wedding night talking until dawn, lying in bed and planning a future that seemed possible now. Pristina wanted to bring more of her family to Korea. Dae-ryun wanted to slowly transition out of the more dangerous parts of his business. "We could open a restaurant," Pristina suggested, half joking. Your mother could teach me to cook properly, and we could serve both Korean and South African food." "You're serious? Why not? We need something that's ours. Something that has nothing to do with territories or rivals or any of that other stuff." Dai Ryun thought about it, really thought about it. A restaurant. A normal business. Something he could be proud of without qualification. "Let's do it," he said. They started small, buying a property and renovating it themselves with his mother's input. Pristina learned to cook Korean dishes while teaching his mother South African recipes. The menu became a fusion of both cultures, something unique and special. The restaurant opened a year after their wedding. They called it Garden, in honor of where everything started. It became popular quickly, not because of Dai Ryun's reputation, but because the food was genuinely good. His mother worked there 3 days a week, greeting customers and telling embarrassing stories about Dai Ryun's childhood. Pristina managed the kitchen with a staff she trained herself, and Dai Ryun handled the business side, using skills he had learned in a very different context. He still had his other businesses, still dealt with rivals and territory disputes. But Garden became his escape, the place where he could be just a man running a restaurant with his wife. 2 years after they married, Pristina told him she was pregnant. They were closing up the restaurant late one night when she just blurted it out. "I'm going to have a baby. Our baby." Dai Ryun set down the chairs he was stacking and just looked at her. A baby. A child who would be half Korean and half South African, who would grow up knowing both cultures, who would have possibilities he and Pristina never had. "Are you happy?" Pristina asked nervously. "We never really talked about children." "I'm terrified," Dai Ryun admitted. "But yes, very happy." His mother screamed with joy when they told her, already planning nurseries and buying baby clothes before Pristina was even showing. The pregnancy was difficult. Pristina got sick a lot in the beginning, and the doctors worried about complications. Dai Ryun spent those months in a state of constant anxiety, driving everyone crazy with his overprotectiveness. "I'm fine," Pristina kept telling him. "Women have babies all the time. Not my woman, not my baby. You're impossible. You married me anyway." Their daughter was born on a spring morning, arriving 3 weeks early, but healthy. She had Pristina's dark skin and Dai Ryun's eyes, and she was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. They named her Spring, because that's when everything in their lives had started growing. His mother cried when she held her granddaughter for the first time, and Pristina's sister flew in from South Africa to meet her niece. Dai Ryun held his daughter in the hospital room and made silent promises. He would protect her. He would give her opportunities. He would make sure she never had to choose between love and safety the way he and Pristina had. "What are you thinking?" Pristina asked from the bed, watching them. "That I need to be better. For her." "You're already good enough." "No, but I will be." Over the next few years, Dai Ryun slowly extracted himself from the dangerous parts of his business. It wasn't easy, and some people thought he was weak for choosing family over power. But he didn't care anymore what those people thought. The restaurant expanded. They opened a second location, and then a third. What started as an escape became a real business, successful in its own right. Spring grew up running between the restaurant tables, learning Korean from her grandmother and Zulu from her mother. She was fearless and kind, the best parts of both her parents. On Spring's 5th birthday, Dai Ryun found Pristina in the garden they still maintained. She was planting tomatoes again, showing their daughter how to put the seeds in the ground. "You should make a wish," Pristina was telling Spring. "Ask the plants to grow strong." "Does that really work?" Spring asked. "It worked for me. I planted a garden and found a family." Dai Ryun watched them together, his wife and daughter, and thought about how far he had come. From a Mafia boss who could trust nobody to a man with a family and a business and a future that didn't involve violence. "Thank you," he said, sitting down next to Pristina. "For what?" "For staying that first night in the kitchen when you were homesick, for not running when you found out who I really was, for saying yes to doing dishes, for everything." Pristina smiled and leaned against him while Spring played in the dirt. "You saved me too, you know. I came here looking for money to help my sister. I found a home instead. They sat in their garden while Spring planted seeds for a future they would build together, and Dae-ryun thought maybe this was what redemption looked like. Not grand gestures or dramatic changes, but quiet moments with the people you loved, growing something beautiful from broken ground. Years later, when people asked how they met, Christina would smile and say it started with a garden. Dae-ryun would add that she was the caregiver who became his everything, and Spring would roll her eyes at her parents being sappy, but secretly love the story anyway. Because it was theirs. Complicated and unusual, and absolutely perfect. Hey, thanks so much for sticking around till the end. If this story touched your heart even a little bit, maybe hit that like button or drop a comment telling me what you thought. And if you want more stories that feel real and hit different, definitely subscribe because I've got plenty more coming your way.